Welcome to this presentation on the use of binary parameters to control feature suppression. As we take a look at the example here, we see a simple CNC machine. That's the part that's shaded normally. And then I have the clearance zones modeled with a transparent color. I've gone ahead and made the clearance zones a separate solid body, but you don't have to do that for this example. Now what I want to do is control the suppression of the clearance zones with a binary parameter or an on and off parameter. So the first thing we want to do is establish that parameter. I'm going to go to my parameter table, and there are really two kinds of binary parameters. The first one we're going to create is the numeric parameter. We'll add a numeric parameter. We'll call it clearance zone. Now, when you make a numeric parameter, all right, you're going to have to set the unit for the binary parameter. Now, I'm going to change this unit value to unitless. We'll go ahead and set the value to unitless. And then I need to make it a multi-value parameter. You simply right-click on the name, choose Make Multi-Value. Typically, the first thing I do is delete the default value. And then I'm going to type in two values, 0 space UL, and then 1 space UL. Those are the only two values we're going to use for this binary parameter. In this case, 1 would mean on and 0 would mean off. We are not going to include any option for custom values. We'll click OK, and there's our first binary parameter. Now, I have basically a tradition, a rule of thumb if you want, that when I make a parameter, I do tend to mark it key. If you are going to take this model and, for instance, turn it into a factory asset, you want to make this parameter a key parameter. And if I mark a parameter key, I also choose to export the parameter. Now, it doesn't control anything yet. We'll get to that in a minute. There is another type of binary parameter that's possible. We could create a true-false parameter. So I'm going to create one of these. And we'll call it, we'll just add a TF at the end of this. So Inventor allows you to make a true-false parameter. And right now, true in my case would be on and false would be off. So again, I could go over and mark that key and choose to export that. Now, I'm going to set my clearance zone, the numeric parameter, I'm going to set that to 1 just so that they're both on at the moment. All right, so I'm going to select done. Now, neither one of these parameters controls anything yet. So how do we make that parameter control the suppression of the clearance zones? Over here in the browser, there are two features responsible for these clearance zones. I'm going to right-click on the first one, and I'm going to come down to Properties. When I select Properties, you'll see that there is a suppression statement built in, really, to every feature in your browser. So in this case, under Suppression, I can click If, and then I want to choose the parameter. Now, you'll notice here that I only see the numeric value, the numeric parameters. You don't see true-false parameters in this drop-down. So for this whole process, you can only use numeric parameters. You have to make your own binary parameter. Multi-value with a 0 and a 1 is the only options. So I'll choose that. And then the statement will basically say, if clearance zone does not equal 1. All right, if clearance zone does not equal 1, then I want to suppress that feature. If I click OK, I could test it very quickly. I could go back to my parameter table. I could come down and toggle this parameter to 0, and you'll see that that particular feature is turned off. Let me turn it back on. So I've shown you that we can't use these true falses. They are binary, but we can't use them in this manner for feature suppression. You can use this true-false parameter with iLogic to suppress features. But the numeric value does not require iLogic. So I'm going to right click on this one and just delete that true false parameter, and we'll just stick with the numeric version now. And then to finish up my design, I'm just going to go back to the next feature for the clearance zone. We'll come back to its properties, and again, we'll go and select if clearance zone does not equal 1. We'll click OK, and we'll do one final test. We'll just go back to the parameter table, and with a single parameter, now a multi-value parameter or a binary parameter, I can control whether or not that clearance zone is visible or not. So this is going to conclude this example of using a numeric binary parameter to control feature suppression. I hope you learned something, and I hope you can include this the next time you're publishing factory assets.